Hello, and welcome to the edition of Sunspiration. I'm sure you missed me for the last 2 weeks. I was out there celebrating my birthday. So I'm sure I can give God the glory one more time and say thank you, all of you, for the wonderful wishes you sent me. And I'm back now with another powerful theme for the month of November. In the month of November, I'll be talking about something that is really close to my heart. It's one of the biggest things that I learned right through the last 18 months. And I'm sure all of us at some point would have had to experience it. I'm sure by now you're wondering, what could this be? What is this skill that we all had to learn through the last 18 months of the pandemic when the world came to a standstill? We live in a very fast-paced world now, where you can throw things in the microwave and it's ready in a short while. Where now you can communicate with people at the push of a button. Unlike I remember when I was in secondary school, when you get to school, you have to write a letter and post it off. And sometimes it took 2 weeks for the person to see it. But now, in a few seconds, you get a message across to other people. But there are some things in life in which you cannot speed up. There are processes in which you have to go through. And so we all have dreams, we all have hopes, we all have things that we're trying to get. We're all trying to achieve one thing or another. But we need to have this skill and this ability to be able to get what we want. And sometimes even lack of this ability is what makes people lose out, which I'll be talking about in a bit. By now your brain is running wild. It's beginning to think, what are these things? You're wondering. But just before I tell you, you might be watching this program for the first time. It is called Sunspiration because it is inspiration from the Holy Bible. I am a speaker and a Christian. So every Sunday I go in the Holy Bible and I find some inspiration to fire you up for the week. And back to what I was talking about. The theme for this month is patience. It is the month of November. You had goals, you had plans, you had prepared yourself for several things over this year. The year is wrapping up in just over a month. And you're thinking, I've not achieved these things yet. I've not even seen them. I don't even know what I'm going to do. But you got to remember that one of the most important traits and one of the most important abilities that we need to have is patience. When you conceive a dream in your heart and you begin to pursue it and you begin to put processes in place to achieve it, sometimes you achieve it very quickly. Sometimes you will need to have patience. And you might be wondering, Victor, what is patience? The Collins English Dictionary defines it as the capacity to be able to endure a difficult time. It also defines it as the ability to wait calmly for something to happen. I love these definitions because it talks about the capacity and then it talks about the ability to wait for something to happen. And when I looked at what capacity means, it now says is the ability to do something. So those two words work together in a very, very powerful way when we're talking about patience. And patience, from the definition, clearly shows that it is a doing word. That is something that you're actually continuously doing. To wait for something to happen. To wait calmly for something to happen. One thing is, we were not all born with patience. At one time or sometime in our lives, we had to develop the capacity. We had to build that ability. And through the last 18 months, I'll just share with you a few things that I did to build my ability to be patient. The first thing I did was P, that's spelling out the word patient. I prayed. I went before God. I cried towards Him regularly. And I said, God, give me the ability and the strength to be patient. And as the days go by, as you're willing and hoping and praying and having faith for different things, it continually had to stay calm. And the only way I was able to stay calm through this whole time was just by going to God and praying. And for me, prayer means communicating with God. And it's a two-way communication, which is me talking to Him and Him talking to me. So I want to encourage you to build patience. The first step is to go to God in prayer. And not just keep talking at Him, but spend some time in silence to listen to what He's saying to you on the next steps to take as you build that ability and the capability to be patient. After prayers, the next thing will be to ask. You spend time in His presence praying. You need to ask Him, tell Him what you want. And when you ask Him for directions. Because while you're waiting, so many different ideas will come to your mind. Always spend time asking, God, what do you think about this? God, which way should I turn? God, should I go left? Should I go right? God, what do I do? You have to continuously ask. And even the Bible says we've got to pray without ceasing. Keep coming to His presence with what you need and that thing you are waiting for. And He will keep building your patience. The third one we're going to look at today is T, which is time. Patience involves waiting. Waiting takes time. And one thing we first have to understand is God's time is the best. And also we have to understand that God is not in a box. You can't put Him into our own earthly time. He knows everything and He knows all. So we have to learn to understand God's timing. When God told Abraham, I'm going to give you a child, He told him who He was. He said, I am the Lord your God. He told him, go outside, look up in the sky. Look at all those stars in millions and billions. I will give you children, generations of children in those numbers. And he had to wait patiently until he got his child off the promise, which was Isaac. Secondly, the Israelites, they left Egypt and God promised them, I'm going to take you to a promised land. But in their own case, they were not patient. Remember the definition. It says the ability to wait calmly. They were not calm. They did not trust God. And they decided to build themselves their own God. They complained all the way through. And guess what? They never saw the promised land. Third, David. He was anointed king, but he had to go through a process and wait years before he finally got on the throne. So if you listen and you hear these stories, it clearly shows you that there is power in having patience. Abraham had to wait years for his promised son. The Israelites complained they did not wait calmly, and the result was they never physically saw the promised land. David waited calmly for his time, and he got on the throne. Whatever difficult situation you are going through now, I want to encourage you. Be patient. Wait calmly. God's time is not your time. Pray. Ask God for what you want. And I can guarantee you, He knows exactly what is happening. And He knows exactly what time you are going to receive what you want. But all you have to do is to be patient. So next week, we're going to continue with the rest of the letters in the word patience. Stay blessed. I love you all.